What's up, family? Texas Fan of Rehab here, man. Back for another recap of the week, man. Hey, it's been a busy one, but let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, let's touch on this real quick. Hey, if you like my content, man, give me a like, give me a follow. Man, I appreciate it if you also tell a friend, tell a fan, whatever, man. But let's get right into this, man. I want to start these up a little bit different this week, man. We're going to start with a question of the week. So I just want to ask everybody, what's your favorite Texans draft pick of all time, man? Let's get a little interaction going on in the comment section, man. Let me know who your favorite Houston Texans draft pick of all time. Of course, it's easy for us to say, J.J. Watt. We can look back historically and just make a quick reference to guys that maybe didn't come out the gate as everybody's favorite. Of course, he turned the tides with the fan base and everything over his time here. Of course, with a legendary, historic, and Hall of Fame career. But my pick, I'm gonna go very simple, man. I'm just gonna go with Dre. Let's go ahead and call it with Andre Johnson, man. Andre Johnson was my guy when he came out. He came out with the third pick, I believe. Man, didn't have the first year that everybody thought that he would have, because he had a little case of the dropsies or whatever, but he went back in the lab, man. He honed his craft, and then from that point forward, man, he took off, man. So Andre Johnson, Mr. Number 80, man, salute to you. You definitely have been one of my favorites for the Texans this entire time, and I'm glad that he continues to move forward with the team in a different capacity at this point, man. So hopefully we see Andre do some bigger and better things, especially mentoring players with the team. Maybe get into some coaching. I know he had been talking about doing that at one point in time, but who knows? We'll see how things turn for Andre, man. But let's get right into it, man. So let's do our look back of the week. We had the 2-day rookie mini camp. This was opportunity for the rookies to get out there and kind of get an infusion of the information coming from Coach D'Amico. This was an opportunity for them to kind of start to build a rapport on the field, run through some repetition, calling out plays, all of that type of stuff, man. This wasn't really like a full bore practice, if you will. This was the initial drills, some conditioning drill type of stuff. This was basic tosses and throws, walkthroughs, and all of that stuff there. Man, I posted a video. I know this ain't the Texans, but I posted a video of Bryce Young running his first drill as a Carolina Panther, and how small he was kind of the significance of the video or whatever. But basically all they were doing was like a glorified walkthrough, and that's the same thing what the Texans did this week, man. So you got a couple clips that have been released. Not a whole lot has been coming out. To my understanding, the media that was on hand wasn't allowed to take a whole lot of videos. They were able to they were allowed to shoot videos, I think, in 30-minute increments or something like that. I'm not totally certain about how that works, but it was interesting to kind of get a little information about that. But that's why it's so limited video clips that you'll see out there. So a lot of stuff that you see posted up from people that are covering the Texans are the same clips regurgitated over and over again. Maybe you catching some slow motion clips of cats that's just running around in circles or whatever, man. So it's almost like the underwear Olympics of the draft, just not as much activity going on overall. But still you get to see the connection from C.J. Stroud to Tank Dell. Get to see a little 7-1-3 action out there. You got to see Juice Scruggs holding it down at the center spot and running his plays and calling. But the bigger thing for me that I took from this was there was a lot of players that the Texans have on the roster just to kind of fill out the roster for this particular portion of the segment. So a lot of these guys that and they're nondescript guys. You're not gonna know everybody that's out there. Of course, you had the guys that were drafted, and you got the guys that were undrafted. But a lot of these guys are not gonna make the roster at the end of the preseason. So I think that's to be expected. But in a lot of cases, you got a lot of people that are just filling these spots while the rookies need to have enough players to fill out an O-line, a D-line, or whatever, so that they can learn their assignments and learn their positions for the guys that will be on the team when that time comes. So that's one thing to look back on for this week. And then the other one, the rookie premiere went down this past weekend, and so or went down this weekend rather. And so you had C.J. Stroud. You, of course, had Will Anderson Jr. And who was the third? Jesus, I'm blanking out on who the third player was. But there was a third player out there, and it's going to come to me in just a second, man. But there was a third player that was out there in California for the Rookie Symposium, or what's called the Rookie Premiere now. The Rookie Symposium is basically an opportunity for the players to get information firsthand from NFL office employees and staff, NFL vets, kind of get the real talking to about what the transition to the league is going to be about, how to handle their money and finances, what to expect, how to keep their heads clean, keep their how to handle themselves in tight situations that they've never been in before. And one of the things, the reason why I'm laughing is one of the things that I remember was how Chris Carter got in trouble a couple years ago, several years back, because he made a comment basically saying that, you guys need to have a fall guy. If you're going to have a crew of guys, you need to have a guy who's going to be the one to take your stuff and claim it that it's his stuff, basically. So if you got that gun, if you got that baggie or whatever, that's going to have to be your man's to take that charge instead of you, because you the one that's got the bag, man. So I remember the grief that Chris Carter got because of that, man. But the reality of the situation is he was telling the truth, man. I mean, if you look at a cat like Ja Morant, man, yeah, he need a fall guy, man. So, it makes some sense relative to the situation. Now, of course, you want these guys to have much better focus than that, and you don't want them to be around here messing their careers up or screwing over some opportunities. But, you see guys that's making the kind of money that they're making, they definitely are targets for not just a nefarious lifestyle or nefarious-minded people, but, maybe they haven't yet matured. Well, they rookies, so they definitely haven't yet matured to accept that, this is the lifestyle that's amongst them. So you put somebody with that much money in a situation where they might not be used to getting that kind of attention, you never know what you're going to get. And these guys can't be under the protection of the NFL and the team 24/7. So, hey, the Rookie Symposium is something that's definitely been important for these guys so they can transition into becoming pros and adult men on a long-term, grander scale. And so I hope that these guys have received pivotal information that's going to help them become more professional as they grow older in the game and get more wise to what they're doing and what they're experiencing with their lives. But additionally, it also gives them opportunity to do things like see their uniform for the first time. Maybe not the first time, but like get to actually see it, wear the uniform and the full uniform, like the full uniform of what it's going to look like. So, because they're going to have to take a lot of pictures, maybe some pictures from like, who knows, football cards or something like that. Maybe they even get like some Madden love or whatever, talk about their ratings and all of that stuff there. Usually a lot of this stuff kind of kicks off at the Rookie Symposium. So, kind of dope to see the different things that these guys are getting into early on. Very rookie centric right now, but next week, OTAs. So look forward to seeing what's going to be the makeup from what this team is going to have moving forward with all of that information in hand. Just want to touch on a couple of things. Transactions that happened this week. Cornerback Shaquille Griffin was picked up by the Texans. I know I spoke about that probably a little last week or whatever. But, we got to keep in mind that a lot of times the news kind of bleeds out real quick as far as transactions that might happen, an acquisition that might take place. And then, the guy might not sign until, later on in the week or whatever, man. So just touching back again on that, Shaquille Griffin, cornerback, who used to play for the Seattle Seahawks. Dude is nice, man, but he's gonna add a little layer of depth to what we already have on the team. If he makes the roster, there's no guarantee with anybody at this point, man. We also picked up a defensive tackle, Byron Coward. I don't know much about Byron Coward. His name hasn't rang a lot of bells with me, man. But again, I think of it as a depth move. I think we are past the point in the free agency period where you're going to have a lot of significant names that hit the waiver wires or that hit the free agency wire, and you're not going to have the guys that are going to be starter caliber that come out there at this point. And so, it's like picking from the $5 bin in Walmart at this point in time. You might get some steals that's out there, but for the most part, you're gonna have guys that's gonna be, maybe some older guys that's just looking for another contract before they finally go ahead and, ride off into the sunset, man. So, just touching on those two real quick. But around the league, excuse me, man. Speaking of free agents, man, Jadeveon Clowney came up in the mix. There was an interview that he did where, long story short, he floated the idea of maybe coming back and joining the Texans, and he wasn't really against it. He was like, it might be nice to come back and rehash things with the Texans, and
It'd be nice to be here. I mean, all my family here, friends here. So I was thinking about something like that, but you never know. They putting the pieces together. I'm a big fan of a new head coach. We'll see.
the real question is, should the Texans take a chance on signing Jadeveon Clowney? From my perspective, man, this is a brother that's 30 years old. He probably had the prime years of his career with the Texans in his first go round. Of course, we drafted him. His first year, he got injured. He only played, I believe, 4 games. Wasn't the greatest showing for him out the gate, but again, he was injured. And so when he came back, I believe he had maybe about a 3-year run with the Texans where he was at his peak. Never hit double-digit sacks. I don't think he ever hit really high numbers as far as tackles or even assisted tackles. He was a guy that was drafted high on the specter of who he was coming out of South Carolina. And, of course, that hit that he had against Michigan, which was dope. But, once the smoke kind of cleared from that big fire that he gave at the draft or whatever, or just before the draft, what type of player is he? I'm gonna be real with you, man. I can't see what his value is that he could add to this team. Certainly not necessarily as a starter. He can so he can give some veteran experience. He can definitely do that. He can help out the locker room in that way. He's definitely a professional about his craft and going about doing what he needs to do. If I recall, he's played a year with Seattle. I think he played the 2020 season with Tennessee, and I think he's been with Cleveland last couple of years. What has he really done? I don't necessarily see us bringing in Jadeveon as a retread just because of nostalgia. These bodies that we have to have on this roster, this is like, prime real estate. You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to invest money in these guys, it's got to be guys that's going to make sure that either the locker room is sound or that the play on the field is sound. If he's going to be like a coach on the sidelines, or maybe a player coach that can kind of help get these youngsters, up to speed with the way. I look at it like this: the Miami Heat have Udonis Haslem, 42-year-old man on the bench. Just basically not to get in the game or to be involved with the game, but just to be a player advocate or a player coach to kind of get these guys the information that they need from an old grizzled vet. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if he's in that type of capacity, then I could say, okay, cool, but the contract's got to be minimal. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that he deserves to not get any money, but I'm just saying, like, what's he bringing to the table at this point? 30 years old, hasn't really had one of those Hall of Fame careers that a lot of cats be looking for at this point in time. So that's my 2 cents on it, man. Let's see. Looking forward, I'm gonna keep this real short this week, man. I'm a little tired. It's been a long week. But looking forward, we have OTAs that start on Tuesday. OTAs are on-field team activities, and so long story short, this is the first time for the entire team to be out there on the field, getting in the flow of things. Same thing as what you're gonna see, or what you saw in the rookie, the 2-day rookie mini camp, man. The mini camp is basically the same thing. It's just with everybody else involved, and so that's what it is, man. They'll be slinging the ball around, running drills, all of that stuff there, man. Not a whole lot for us to get super excited about. However, they will be meeting with the press. You can expect them to do more interviews with the press. You can expect the press to be hounding them more. I think the press is still pissed off because they didn't get a chance to interview C.J. Stroud the way they wanted to. And so who knows how that goes coming forward, man. But OTAs coming up this week, man. So that's pretty much all I got this week, man. It's a short one for me, man, but I look forward to next week. Think of how far we've come, man. I mean, we had all the build up to the draft. We had all of the smoke screens and everything else that was coming up in between. We had, the Mel Kiper, Fooded Wayne that was not, thankfully. We had the draft, all of the big news or whatever. So we're finally starting to get into the action of the I guess the preseason, where we starting to get a little bit of something going on, a little stir going on over there at the stadium. But no hitting, none of that stuff is going to be going down. So it's still antiseptic. It's still very clean where we at in this part of the process, man. So we don't want any injuries, of course, throughout the OTAs. Nothing silly, no soft tissue injuries, none of that stuff. We want these guys to go in, do their thing, go back out. To my knowledge, after the first week of OTAs, I think there are I think there are 3 weeks of OTAs. I can double check on that for the next video. But OTAs should be for the next several weeks leading off into June and possibly even into July. So, this is what we got to look forward to, man. If there's new news that breaks or whatever, I'll be breaking it, man. So, shout out to you guys, man. Houston Texans fan and Rehab. I'm out.